This
recording.
conference will now be recorded.
So you enter into the business blueprinting phase. So you can see here every phase has some timeline. That means an implementation project. SAP also tells you with the SAP methodology in each phase how much time you should be spending, right? So this is the ideal time for 18-month project. That is project one, phase one 3 months, BBP 6 months, and realization 6 months, and this all things. So today would be a short session. We will discuss only business blueprinting phase today, and we'll also give you a little introduction of what is Activate methodology in S/4HANA, right? So let's go ahead. So first, let me tell you what is the Activate methodology comparing to the ASAP methodology, what we have discussed in the last session. So I told you, right, ASAP methodology was since last 20 years, or from R3, we have it in the SAP, but SAP has stopped this particular ASAP methodology in the S/4HANA, and SAP has come up with a new methodology called as Activate methodology. So let us see what is Activate methodology. A little introduction, not into the detail, but at least where you can handle the interview questions. So this is SAP Activate methodology. So you see this methodology, Activate methodology. So Activate methodology comes with only 4 steps. Okay, you see what is the 4 steps of Activate methodology? That is prepare, explore, realize, and deploy. There are another 2 phases which comes before prepare and after deploy. That is run, and there is something one more. Let me just check and tell you. So you really don't need to know this as of date, but as I told you, now if you go for SD interview, for sure they ask questions in the S4 HANA as well. So at least to crack the interview level. Yeah, to before to prepare it is discover, after to deploy it is run. So technically it shows 6, but only 4 steps: prepare, explore, realize, and deploy. This is the new Activate methodology. So what is the difference between the ASAP methodology and Activate methodology? Why SAP has scrapped its famous ASAP methodology and it was doing only the Activate methodology now? Because the ASAP methodology was a waterfall model. That's what we have discussed in the last session. That means once we take the requirement from the customer, okay, so in which phase you are taking the requirements from the customer in the ASAP methodology? In this business blueprinting phase, which we are supposed to discuss today. This phase, this business blueprinting phase, here where we gather the requirements from customer. Okay, tell me what all you want. So customer would be telling what their requirement. How much time? 6 months. Okay, so in the ASAP methodology, what happens is the customer and consultant interaction is very less. Once we gather all the requirements here, then we start our work in the server, and there is no regular touch with the customer. Regular touch in the sense, okay, we give updates and these all things, but customer really don't know what is happening because he's not a SAP person, right? So he don't know what we are doing in the system, right? So customer interaction is very less here. And until what date customer has to wait to see his final product? The go live phase. That means total 18 months time, but customers are not ready to wait this much time now in the 2018, right? That means in this age, so no one is ready to wait this much time after spending this money, right? And everyone want to see the report, whatever they are putting, they want to see it at the earliest in action. Here whatever the customer can see, it's everything black and white on a paper, in a Excel document or a Word document, only on document. That means customer is not getting a feel of how his product is going to look at the end. So taking all this out, what SAP has done is SAP has brought this as Activate methodology, which runs on Scrum model. That is part by part, piece by piece, we'll do it. Because let me tell you one thing here, I'll explain you with a process. Let's take 2 processes in SAP, that is OTC process, order to cash, and one another process called as third party process. Okay, in OTC process, what happens is first we create an order and we do delivery, and we then create an invoice to the customer. OTC process is nothing but it is a make to stock scenario. That means we manufacture the material and materials are available. So we create an order, we deliver, and we invoice the customer. On other hand, third party process is, let's take my company, Galaxy Pharmaceuticals, sell 100 material. My company sell 100 materials, but we manufacture only 70 material. What about the 30 materials? You might be seeing a lot of FMCG and pharmaceutical companies, or you take Patanjali, they sell everything, but they don't manufacture those products. Who manufactures for them? Some third party companies manufacture them, right? So you take any FMCG product, or you take many of the pharmaceutical products, you'll see two labels: marketed by, manufactured by. Some company will manufacture and some company will market that products into the market, right? So third party process is like that. That means if a customer is asking for, let's say, X material 100 quantity, what you do, we don't manufacture X material 100 X material. We procure it from vendor. We raise a purchase order to vendor and ask vendor to deliver the goods to customer, right? Let's say in the ECC, if I want to use third party process, I cannot use directly unless I do configuration of OTC, third party, IPO, make to order process, STO process. Until all I configure and kick off the live, I cannot, until we go live, I cannot use a single process, because we once for all we go live in the ECC. That means we configure everything, we do testing, we upload the data, and then we go live. I cannot use one small part of the project, but that's where the drawback is. That means we need to wait all the 18 months to use the product. We need to use all the 18 months. But now in the ASAP methodology, it's not like that. You first ask customer what you want. Okay, you want third party process. For that, I really don't need to configure OTC. Without OTC, I can do third party process. Without third party process, I can do OTC process. So OTC is not stopping me for third party process. A third party process is not stopping me for OTC. But in the ECC, I go only once go live. So that's the reason we need to configure everything. But in the S4HANA, what you can do is, if your customer is saying that I want to go for third party process, okay. In S4HANA, it comes with a cloud trail. It's not just documents, black and white. You can see the live product. Discover, okay, what you want, OTC. Cloud trail. Take a model company and show it to the customer. You execute everything, then do the fit gap analysis, because it may not exactly fit to the customer requirement, whatever is available. So customer might tell some changes. So do that fit gap analysis. Then you realize customer says that, okay, this is exactly what I want. After the fit gap analysis, you deploy it and you run it. That means you take projects as now small portions and you do this particular and you deploy it. So customer will be using OTC. By the time again you can come here and start third party process. Same process, okay, third party live, then after consignment live, like this. So that means the project is getting kicked off very quickly and customer is able to see something, and that too in live. You can show the complete flowcharts like this for the customer. If he's asking, I want to see some make to order process, okay, you can see it. Make to order production, where it will start. Receive customer request of quotation. You'll first receive a quotation from the customer, then you send it to the follow on quotation and send to the customer, right? Then create a sales order with reference to quotation. So a complete process you can show like this to the customer, so that he will get a feel of what exactly his output going to look like, right? So that is Activate methodology, which comes with the 4 phases, right? So this is the 4 phases, that is prepare, explore, realize, and deploy, right? So let's come back to the BBP phase, what we should discuss. Business blueprinting phase, that is, the name itself tells blueprint. Blueprint means a prototype. That means, see, if you want to construct a building, what you do, you start with a plan, right? Architect plan. Architect plan is called as a blueprint. That means without constructing the house itself, you know that like where the each, like say, where's the bedroom, where's the kitchen, and everything by map itself, right? That's a blueprint. That means exactly you'll follow the blueprint and you'll construct the house, nothing any deviation there. Likewise, you gather the requirements and you follow BBP to do the realization. That means to configure everything in the system, you follow blueprinting document. So what all activities we do in the blueprinting? That is, what is this phase is all about? The purpose of this phase is to achieve a common understanding of how the company intends to run the SAP. That is how Galaxy Pharma is like, how they want to run on SAP. What is their objective? What all they want? Everything you put it in the BBP. So for BBP, they conduct workshops because certain activities are across modules. As a SD, you cannot take a decision. Even though it belongs to SD module, you alone cannot take a decision. Every module consultant has to be involved, and on a discussion, brainstorm, you take a decision there. So they'll be conducting workshops in the BBP and you need to attend the workshops. So how do you start the BBP? That is through a scope document. What do you mean by scope technically, anyone? What is scope? Possibility, right? Scope means the possibility. So the scope document, that means tomorrow at any time, if you feel that this project is going to be failed, or if you feel that this project is not going in right direction, if any time if you feel that, you come back and you will check the scope document. Scope document is that important. Why? What's there in the scope document? This document will consist of questionnaires of entire business process of customer. That means how you gather the requirements from customer. It's not possible even for a 10 years, 15 years a sales manager or a general manager sales, he cannot tell you everything orally. I want this, that, and everything, because you have hundreds, thousands of things what customer would be needing in SD module. So it's not possible, even he is a 15-year sales manager or general manager, he cannot tell you everything orally. I want this and that. But how do you gather the requirements? That is through some question and answers database. There is a QADB. I'll share this all documents with you. I hope a couple of people has received already these things. I'll share few more. So there are BBP QADB. With this QADB, you ask questions to the customer, he will answer you. So how to gather, see, you want to construct a house, you go to an architect. How does the discussion start? First, he'll ask you, right, what type of property you want to construct? It's a house for how many people, right? So do you have senior citizens? If you have senior citizens, they plan bedroom in the in the ground floor, right? So a lot of things he will ask, you answer, then he will come up with a blueprint. The same thing you do here in the BBP phase. That means even though your core user is a 15 years or 20 years general manager, it's not possible for him to tell everything what they want. So every business, every industry has its own set of questions and requirements. So you take this kind of BBP QADB, your implementation partner should provide that. If your implementation partner is not providing, it's consultant responsibility to get this document. I will share you two sets, probably three sets or two sets of different documents I'll share you. You can use this for your projects. So what you do, you take this particular document when you go on site and you start asking the questions. What kind of questions you'd be asking? So do you need to keep the sales activities of particular enterprises or business areas or product groups completely separate? Yes or no? Some questions need yes or no. Some questions need one-line answer. Some questions need a little description. Some questions would be needing very detailed explanation, right? So do you group similar products together? Yes or no? If you have multiple plants, is their material normally supplied by specific plant? Yes or no? Like that means it's not all about yes or no questions. You can see what is the default sales unit. You sell by weight, or you sell by value, or you sell by area. So how do you sell your products? What is the unit of measure? So like this, you'll be putting lots of questions to the user. That's the reason it's taking 6 months. Why it's taking 6 months or 3 months for a BBP phase? Because how many questions you can ask in a day? Probably 20, 25, 30 questions you can ask a day. Why? Because there will be lots of discussions also in between. Your core user is a senior manager. He has a lots of knowledge in business, right? He may not be knowing SAP SD, but he's a very senior and he has a very knowledge in the business. So he will ask you, he will put lots of questions. So if you ask this, like, what is the default sales unit in your business? He may ask you question, okay, what all possibilities SAP offer? You tell me that first. Then you should tell me, the user, what all the unit of measures SAP offers. Then he may tell you, okay, I can go by weight. So it's not that you ask a question, he will immediately tell an answer. No, there will be a lot of discussion in between. Do you group similar products together? Then he may ask you a question. So what's the benefit of grouping the products together? Is it because for the price or by characteristics? What all options you have? So he will also come up with some questions. There will be some discussions. Then you break the ice and you conclude it, right? So like this, you'd be asking the questions and taking all the requirements from the customer. If your question is wrong, your core user answer is also wrong. Sometimes your question might be right, but his answer might be wrong, right? So how best you gather the requirements basing on this QADB, your success of project is dependent upon. That's the reason this document will consist of questionnaire of entire business process. That means how better you gather the requirement, how better you demonstrated the scope, that success your project is going to be, right? So that's the reason scope document is very important. And how do you gather the requirements? That is through question and answer DB. So once you done with the QADB, then you write, that means in the parallel you write a as is. There is only one document called as BBP document. There is no as is document, there is no to be document. Why I'm specifically telling this? Because in the interview they'll ask a question, what documents you prepared in the BBP phase? In the BBP phase, what documents we prepare? We prepare blueprint document. Along with that, we also prepare a couple of other documents. As is and to be are the contents of business blueprint document. They are not separate documents. Okay, some projects, it's a very big project, okay, multi-billion project, then you may have a separate document. If not, as is and to be are the contents of business blueprinting documents. There are no three documents like BBP document, as is document, to be document. No, we don't have three documents like this. We have only one document, that is BBP document. Under that, as is and to be are the contents, right? What is as is? As is means as it is how customer business is running without SAP. Without SAP, how customer business is running, that you put it in the as is. That is understanding the business process from the core team. Basing upon the QADB, you write as is. To be, how customer's business is going to be in the SAP. In the SAP, how you are mapping customer's business, that is to be. When you are mapping customer business into SAP, certain times it doesn't fit exactly because SAP offers something, your customer requirement is something else. So that both doesn't match. So what's happening? You'll find some gaps. When you find a gap, you need to do gap analysis. How to fill that gap, right? Then you take a sign off and you proceed to next phase. So let's see these all activities in detail. So from day one of the project, how it goes. So that's a killer question in the interview. What you do, so what you did on your first day of your implementation project, what you have done on your first day of your implementation project. Generally, why they're asking this question, like what you have done on your first day of implementation project? Because only who participated in that project real time will know what we do on the first day of project. Because out of curiosity, you will tell that, okay, I started working. No, you don't start working on day one. Once you go on site on day one, you first set up your everything, and usually you'll have a client to greet and meet, and they'll take to plan to visit or introduction and everything. You don't start work from day one, right? So you go to the on site. So on the first day, what you do, you may have some plan to visit or client orientation, these all things. Then from the second day, you start your work. You don't start it from the first day. That's the reason they ask this question, what you have done on your first day of your project, right? So once you start your activities, that means to gather the requirement, what happens is in general, they'll fix some time because your core user is already a very senior manager. He might be a senior manager, sales, or a general manager, right? So just a moment. So he's a senior general manager. Let's say he is already occupied with work. Many people report to him. He need to respond to lots of mails and lots of things, right? So he cannot sit the whole day with you. So they fix some time. Let's say it can be in the morning. Mostly it is will not be in the first hours. So let's say from 11 to 3 or from post lunch 2 to 6 like this. They will fix some time, and they will be also allocating some cabins or rooms because everyone cannot sit at the same place. SD, MM, PP, FI. You see how messy it is, right? So you cannot. Everyone will not be sitting at the same place. So they will be giving separate rooms or cabins so that as an SD consultant, you and your core user will be sitting and discussing and gathering the requirements, right? So how do you gather the requirements with a QA DB? So how once your core user is telling you something, you need to note it down as it is. As it is. It's not that what you understand. Okay, whatever he was telling, that you need to make a note, because tomorrow he may tell that no, this is not the context what I was explaining. My assumption and what I explained is different, something else. You understood it wrong and you put it down it wrong, right? So to eliminate these ambiguities, what you can do is you can take down as it is whatever your core user was telling. So this activity will repeat for the next 3 months or 6 months. You go in the allocated time, you sit there and you ask the questions, you take the requirement, you come back, then you start writing the as is and to be. So the on-site person will be sending the requirements to the offshore team. In the offshore, you will be preparing the documents, right? So it may take 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, depending upon the project. You gather the requirements, you put it in as is, then you write it in to be. So let me show you the BBP document, how it looks. You will be getting 2 to 3 BBP documents. So I'll show you one complete BBP first. See, this is a complete BBP with all the modules which were implemented in this project. This is FICO and this is MM, SD, PP, HR. These are the modules. Our area of interest is SD, so let's go to SD and see what's there. You see what are the gaps identified. Everything will be put here. So let us go to specific to SD. So this is how a BBP looks like, as is to be. As is means at the present, as it is, how customer business is running without SAP, and the same business without in SAP, how it's going to be. Let me give you 1 or 2 scenarios. So when you sit for requirement gathering, your customer is telling that we are a piston manufacturing company for automobiles, and we supply goods to our customers. Okay, we are a piston manufacturing company and we supply goods to our customers, and we want to make sure that our products are very close in reach to our customers, because see, all the automobile manufacturing will have a production line, right? That means continuous production will be happen 24/7. They cannot stop it, right? In the production line, that means they will not place any order. So let's say you take Maruti as a automobile company and some piston manufacturing OEM, original equipment manufacturer. So they will not place an order to OEM. Okay, send me some 10,000 pistons. They'll not place an order because this is a continuous production line, and they make sure that all the products what need to manufacture this car is readily available at their premise. That is OEM jobs to make sure to keep up the stock all the time ready near to the Maruti. That means the company. So this is what the scenario your customer is telling you, saying that We are a piston manufacturing company. We are OEMs for large car manufacturers, and we want to make sure that our stock is very close in reach to the customers. How this is possible? Did he explain anything technical? Anyone from this batch who is already working in sales and marketing or SAP knowledge, can you tell what is this process called as? Customer has not explained anything technical. He just told what they were doing in their business. Anyone?
Consignment.
What is that? Not you, Sadakat. Not you. No, yeah, that's a consignment process. Sadakat from his previous batch. Sadakat or anyone from previous batch, please don't answer. Give a chance to this batch people. Okay. Give a chance to this batch people. You don't answer. So this process is called as a consignment process. Okay. So in consignment positive process, what we can do is we can keep the stock very close to the customer so that he can consume the stock whenever he want. When customer consume the stock, then only we will bill the customer. Even though we dump the stock at customer location for use, we don't immediately bill them because it's a continuous chain. So only when customer consumes the stock, we will bill them. This is consignment process. Likewise, customer is telling one another process. We are a retail chain. Our customers walk into the store, they pick the goods, whatever they want in a shopping cart, and come to the billing counter. They get it billed and take all the materials along with them. That means when we go to a big bazaar, when we go to a Walmart, what we do, this is the same thing we do, right? We take a shopping cart, we go to the all the Ashley and pick up all the materials, go to the billing counter, get it billed, and we'll use the store. Did customer explain anything technical here? Nothing. Customer is explaining just the way he is performing the business, right? So this process in SAP is called as cash sales. Cash sales. That means as a consultant, you should be in a position to understand first customer business. So okay, I'll ask one question. If it's possible, anyone you can answer. Why SAP people are called as consultants? Anyone? We call SAP consultants, right? But we don't call as .NET consultant or Java consultant. We call them as programmers. Why we call SAP people as consultants? Anyone?
Because they have idea of both the businesses, like from the functional side as well as the SAP side.
Yeah, but your programmer also do the same thing, right? You take the customer's idea and prepare a logic and write the program. Right? Yeah, so just think of that question, why SAP people are called as consultants and not as SAP programmer or something. So if you are SD consultant, it's not just you know about SAP SD, that will not work. You should also understand the general business process and customer requirements, because your customer is a layman to SAP. He don't know anything about SAP. Whatever your customer communicates to you, he communicates in his own language. In his own language. So first you should be in a position to understand that in client's perspective, in general business, then you need to map it to the SAP. Then you need to map it to SAP, and then you need to give a solution. So let's see cash sales. What customer is telling? This process occurs when the customer is ready to take the product by paying the required amount immediately. That's what we do when we go to a big bazaar, right? We pay the amount, we take the material, we leave. That's it. So customer will not tell you this is a cash sales, but you should identify, okay, this is a cash sales. In SAP, we have a sales document type called as CS, item category as BVN, and there are two triggering points which is helping us to print the bill immediately. So you should have this all knowledge. So as is as it is how customer business is running, and to be is how this is going to be in the SAP. That's what you do in the process, right? So once you prepare this as is and to be, that is a BBP document, then In between, as I told you, you will find some gaps. Why? Because some client requirement may not exactly fit into the SAP. Okay, the customer has explained you something which will not exactly fit into the SAP, because as I mentioned, only 60 to 70% of standard SAP will fit into the client requirements. It can be any business. Rest 30 to 40% you have to enhance. What is this 30 to 40%? And as a consultant, at any time, if you get a requirement, what should be your approach? So as a consultant, at any time, if you receive a requirement from customer, your approach should be SWOT analysis. It is a proven methodology. It is a proven method. SWOT analysis. What is SWOT analysis? First, check in standard whether you can give a solution to the customer in the standard itself or not. If in the standard you cannot give a solution, do workaround with some customizations and configurations. Can you give a solution to the customer? Even that is also not possible. Go for enhancements. That means developments by your ABAPers. Even certain solutions is not wise to go for developments also. Then tell customer not possible. Okay, this is not possible. So anytime if you receive a requirement from customer, always your approach should be SWOT analysis. Standard, workaround, enhancement, and not possible. So let's say you got a gap. What is a gap? Gap is nothing but for which there is no solution in the standard SAP. In the standard SAP, you don't have a right away solution to the customer. That's called as gap. What can be a gap? Simple. I'll tell you one gap. See, standard SAP can print only 4 lines of address. Why we need to print address? Because in any communication, in invoices, delivery notes, everything we print customer addresses, right? But standard SAP can print only 4 lines of address. At least take India, our addresses are little lengthy. So my client requirement is 6 lines. So what I need to do? I need to enhance it, right? So you'll find lots of gaps like this. So customer want to give two, we already discussed in the last session, right? So for one material, he want to offer 2 materials as free goods, but it's not possible. Multiple free goods is not possible in SAP, right? So these are all called as gaps. So once you get a gap, what you do, you prepare a gap analysis document. That means first you write what is the issue, what is the gap, and what is the technical mandates and functional mandates you need to fulfill this. Then you give budget and everything, right? And you send this to customer, and if he's okay with that, then he will give a sign off saying that okay, you can go ahead with the document. That means the development, because certain developments are not wise spending money or time, because customer can look for some alternative instead of spending that much money in a development, right? So I'll tell you one scenario like that. In the free goods itself, see, all the sales strategic team has met to take a decision for festival season, saying that for every X material 100 quantity customer buys, he will get X material 20 quantity as free goods. This is a strategic decision they have taken for some festive season, and they were expecting the sales would be jumped by 5%. And they want to like recheck this after 1 month. So once they meet after 1 month to recheck this decision, their sales even not jumped by 2%, not even by 2%. Why? What happened? The reason is, in SAP, you can see free goods only in sales order. You can see free goods only in sales order. You cannot see in quotations. In quotation, if I create a sales order for X material, it shows only X material. It will not show free goods. That means customers are ordering for customers are asking for quotation. You are sending quotation, but it is not encouraging for them because free goods is not displayed in the quotation. So they are not placing orders. But when you create an order, you can see free goods. So now if your customer is asking, okay, I want to include free goods in quotation, but it is a very heavy development which need to be performed, and it will cost a lot for the customer. A lot. For one SD consultant and 2 ABAPers, it will take minimum 3 months to fulfill this gap. So it may not be wise sometimes to spend that much time and money on some requirements that customer will take care anyway. Right, so once you prepare a BBP document and you ask for a sign off from the user, so every document has to be sign off. Without sign off, you need not, you should not go for the next phase, because without sign off, what happens is it will become a never-ending project. Customer will ask you to try this, try that, and everything. This is what the issue with the ASAP methodology. Because in the ASAP methodology, what you are doing, you are asking all the requirement, you are freezing it, taking a sign off, and you don't entertain in any change. But in the that doesn't work today's life, right? In the 2018, that doesn't work, because every day we are having some new update of technology or innovation, whatever it is. So you cannot freeze some requirement. So it should be in a position to relook to that particular requirement. So that is possible in the Activate methodology. So BBP, this all process goes minimum 3 to 6 months, depending upon the project tenure and what kind of project you're working, and what documents we prepare in the BBP document. In the BBP phase, it's a BBP document and gap analysis document. These two documents you'll be preparing, right? This is all about the BBP phase, and once you're done with BBP phase, you go to the next phase called as realization phase. Okay, so today we will discuss only up to this BBP. Tomorrow we'll continue with the realization, because the realization, final preparation, and go live, I want to do it only in one session. Okay, yeah. So one question you would be frequently seeing in the interviews is, did you face any issue in the BBP phase? Have you faced any issue in the BBP phase? Anyone? What would be your answer? Yes or no? For sure, if it's yes, they'll ask you what is the issue, right? So will we really face some issues in the BBP phase? Yes, for sure. Shafi, any question?
No.
No, right? Okay. Yeah, for sure we'll face some issues in the BBP phase. So what kind of issues we'll be facing in the BBP phase? So see, whatever the issue you are telling in the interview, that should be professional issues. You should not tell like, see, my core user don't come on time, he's very busy. That is not an issue. You should not tell these kind of things in the interview. Nothing project anything negative. Okay, you should be always positive issues. Positive in the sense that should be related to your work. What is that kind of issue? The issue is, see, whenever you're in project, the first issue comes is language. Language is the main issue, because if you are in a Chinese project or you are in a Korean project, Japanese project, they deal only in their language. All the SAP system screens, everything will be in Japanese. Right? So one issue can be language, right? And the other issue can be anything, but as I told you, professional. Even if your core user is not coming on time, also you can tell it in positive. You can tell that my core user is a senior manager and he is occupied with a lot of work and he could not make on time, but we managed it on other time. That means it shows your positiveness and ability to take up challenge. That means the allocated time is 10 to 2 o'clock, but he's the first hour in the business, so he's not able to show up. So you can tell them that we manage time, and in the evening 4 to 7 we used to sit. That means it shows your positiveness and you are adaptable to the situation, right? So this is how you need to tell. If they ask you something, did you face any problem or nothing, project anything in the negative, right? So this is all about the BBP phase. Any questions on this? Go ahead, anyone, any questions on this? Okay, hope so, no questions. So we'll call it a day today and we'll catch up tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll continue with the other three phases, that is project realization phase, final preparation phase, and go live. So by tomorrow, we'll be finishing the complete new implementation. So you'll be getting an idea as a consultant what you're supposed to do in the new greenfield implementation. So then after one more session for a support project, maybe by Wednesday or Thursday, we'll touch the SAP system for the first concept, that is enterprise structure, right? So see you all and catch up tomorrow, same time, 8 to 9 o'clock. See, you'll be receiving the link 10 or 15 minutes before the session, as I already told you. So you can wait up to even 7:55 also, you'll get the link, right? So see you all and catch up tomorrow and continue with the rest of the session. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night.